I spent 7 days in Porto, Portugal and had the time of my life. Everything from Pastel de Nata cooking classes, visiting the famous Harry Potter bookstore, watching beautiful sunsets, tasting port wine, and so much more. I'm gonna share my full itinerary, so let's get into it. It's me again. I just checked into my Airbnb in Porto. If you couldn't tell, I am obsessed with this Airbnb. Love it because first of all, the couch is yellow and the bed is upstairs. So it's kind of like a loft kind of vibe. I only have one night here alone and then my boyfriend will be here in literally 24 hours. I think I'm gonna freshen up and I'm really hungry. So I will probably walk to like the square that's like a 12-minute walk away, find something to eat, vibe out, and then get back here before it gets dark. I was aimlessly walking the streets and happened to come across this record store that also turned into a club at night, which was such a cool vibe. I then made my way to my patio where I went to grab some dinner. I forgot to grab videos of the dinner, but there's my dessert. And I was a little tipsy from the wine in the bathroom, just vibing out. And I just enjoyed the views on the walk back before heading to work on my laptop before heading to bed for the night. It is such a beautiful sunny day today. I am just sitting outside of my Airbnb on this little terrace. It is the cutest thing ever. Let's go explore Porto. This day was prime romanticizing your life day for me. I walked over to brunch and just enjoyed the beautiful stores around me and local businesses. It just hits different in Europe, okay? So here's where I ended up getting brunch and I just sat there and read my book in peace while sipping my coffee, waiting for my food, and it was really giving main character moment, Carrie Bradshaw, some main character just vibing. Anyways, after I enjoyed my delicious pancakes, I headed over to the infamous Bullhound Market, which is essentially a farmer's market that runs in Porto, and it has everything. It has fresh fruits, fresh meat, dried fruit, dried meat, even flowers, and anything you could possibly think of. Since I was staying at my Airbnb for a week, I ended up grabbing some fresh berries for myself for breakfast and also got some fresh pasta because look, they literally were making it right in front of your eyes, and of course I just had to try it. I didn't want to go home quite just yet, so I ended up taking a little stroll to a viewpoint. This is the name of the viewpoint, and it was beautiful. I just sat here for a moment in the heat, mind you, it was hot, and just enjoyed the view around me before deciding that yes, it was too hot to stay out here and I needed air conditioning. So I ended up walking home. Here I am taking a break because I just couldn't handle the heat. I'm tired and hot, so I'm taking a little break. After my little break, of course, I stopped for a bottle of wine before I headed home. So I have made it back to my B&B. It's about 4:45, almost 5. I'm getting a bit hungry. I did buy some like strawberries and some fresh meat and stuff from the farmer's market. So I might just cut it up, have a glass of wine, and sit outside. I'm probably gonna just chill out till my boyfriend gets here, get some work done on my iPad or whatever the case may be. Just overall get work done. First impressions on Porto. I haven't gone to like the main area, but I went to one of the main areas where the Bullhound Market is. It's very different from Lisbon, of course. The streets look different. The amount of people there are different. I feel like Lisbon is very catered to tourists, so there's a lot of tourist shops, whereas here I find more local shops. I haven't really seen much tourist like shops where they're selling souvenirs and stuff. Maybe I saw like 2 or 3 versus in Lisbon like every other store was one of those. I like it here. I don't know, I feel more calm here than in Lisbon. Maybe it's because there's not as much hustle and bustle. Join me as we make a little snack. very first brunch of our trip together, we ended up going to a baking class. This was by far one of the highlights of the trips because we got to make Pastel de Nata, which is a custard tart pastry that Portugal is really well known for, and I know you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say that. Learning the recipe from a local just hit so different, especially because the class was actually in their home. It just felt cozy and warm, and it felt like we were learning something historical, which we were, because it was literally the host's grandma's recipe that was passed down. And of course, the final result was absolutely delicious. If you go to Porto, I highly recommend taking a Pastel de Nata cooking class. After our class, we definitely did not want to go home, so we grabbed some drinks and headed over to Jardim de Moro, which is a short walk over the bridge. And fun fact, once you cross over the bridge, you are actually no longer in Porto, you're in a town called Gaia. So this little garden hill in Gaia is actually a really popular spot for locals and tourists alike to come and watch the beautiful sunset over Porto and the Douro River. There's live music, people selling drinks, and just overall such good vibes. This was our first evening together on the trip, so we even got a cute photo together by a local photographer to commemorate the beautiful and romantic night. After the beautiful sunset, we walked over to our last stop of the evening, which was to grab a quick bite and to sit by this window and enjoy the beautiful view outside and just look at the skyline of Porto. The restaurant wasn't planned, we just kind of came across it, but it was still in Gaia. There's like a whole strip of restaurants on that side of the bridge, so feel free to walk around and check it out. It is super lively at night. Aveiro is considered the Venice of Portugal, but more on that in a sec, because first and foremost, I had to grab a coffee since we got there super early in the morning. I saw this little treat thing by the coffee, which I thought was going to be some kind of pastry, so I had to try it because it looked super interesting. Thought it was going to be sweet. Yeah. Turns out it was some kind of egg, and it's just something else that this town is popularly known for. We then headed over to the main attraction of the morning for us, which were these cute boats. Our tour was super cheap and lasted about 45 minutes on the water, where the guide informed us of some fun facts and history about the town. So just like Venice, Aveiro has these cute gondolas or boats that are very known for. But unlike Venice, the whole town isn't surrounded by this. This is actually just a little river thing, lake, I'm not really sure, but it's really small. It's not the whole town, but nonetheless, it was super cute and very wholesome. Before we left, of course, we wanted to explore the town a little bit more, so we ended up coming across this bridge, which reminded me of the Lovelock Bridge in Paris, except this was with ribbon. So of course, we had to grab some ribbon and lock ourselves onto the bridge where we will live happily ever after. But honestly, no, it just felt super romantic to be able to do something like this in such a cute little small town, especially after we took the really cute boat rides, because we saw these bridges while we were on the boat. So being able to actually put our names there was just such a magical moment for us. Of course, after all the activities we participated in already, we got hungry and we came across a McDonald's and decided that we wanted to check out the menu. Because one thing about us is we're always gonna check out the different fast food places when we travel. Don't judge, it's just what we do. It was good, but I mean, it was just McDonald's, so it wasn't anything special. Of course, since I didn't get my sweet craving from this morning, I had to stop and get some gelato, and then we made our way back to Porto and went to a FC Porto game. And I am not a sports girly, but my boyfriend is a huge sports/soccer fan. Honestly, I'm glad I went because feeling the energy of the locals as they cheered for their home team made us feel like we were locals too, and it was just honestly a great thing to experience, even though I am not a sports fan myself. So this is the day that we did all of the basic touristy things. We started the day off and headed to the infamous Lello Bookstore, which is rumored to be the inspiration of much of the Harry Potter aesthetic, because J.K. Rowling actually lived in Porto while writing it, apparently, allegedly. The place was so stunning, and I promise you, videos and photos cannot do justice to the actual place. But one thing I will say was that it was super crowded, as you can see here. It's hard to walk around, let alone to stop and take pictures without being shoved or pushed or having a bunch of strangers in the background. So I recommend going super early or super late. That's what some of the locals told us, because it's less touristy touristy in those hours. Of course, being a bookstore, there were tons of books around us, and one of the things I thought was so cool is that your €8 ticket to get into the bookstore actually goes towards the purchase of any book in the store. So I ended up going with one of these mini books that are specifically printed at this bookstore, or I guess for the bookstore, and it has the name of it in fancy gold pages because I thought it would make for a really cool souvenir or coffee table book. Espresso, cheers. Hot. I also got this popsicle. Can I have your number?
I love to climb a mountain, but it doesn't dream me how a small jazz dancing cheek to cheek.
Once we made it to the water, we found a cute restaurant nearby to eat and enjoyed some live music over lunch, sangrias, a beautiful view, and of course some pastel de nata that we purchased earlier in the day. And a word of advice, it tastes way better when it's warm and fresh, not when it's been sitting in your bag for a few hours. We walked over the bridge to Gaia once more to sit and enjoy the Porto skyline for a bit before heading over to our free walking tour of the city. Whenever I travel, I always make an effort to do free walking tours because one, it's free, but more importantly, I feel like it's super important to me to learn about the history of a place when I'm visiting. On our tour, we got to see and learn about the São Bento station, as well as got to learn about some of the well-loved local bars, restaurants, and attractions. So it's really like you get a lot of behind-the-scenes content from these kind of things, and it just makes you feel more connected to the city. Hey, footwork. One thing that you cannot miss out on when traveling to Porto is a tour of Douro Valley. We booked this tour and wine tasting online, which is basically a full day trip and about a 2.5-hour drive out of Porto, which they arranged that for you. So first off, we got to explore a beautiful vineyard and learn about how they manage their grapes to get the yummy and sweet taste of port wine. After the vineyard, we got to do a tasting of 3 different wines. My mic isn't working, so I'm not sure how well you can hear me, but we're at a wine tasting and we already had the white wine, so these are the next 2. They're both port wines. One is 5 years, and what's the other one? 7. So we're gonna try the 5-year one now. Cheers! It smells really sweet. Apparently it gets up to like 40 to 50 degrees here in the summer. Right now it's probably like 20 or 30. And this is our view.
And this is my view.
Cheers. We had to chug the last wine because we almost got left by the group because everyone was leaving. So that's why we didn't record it. But it was very bitter. I finally got my mic to work, so you can finally hear us. Anything to say?
I'm just happy to be here.
We almost got left again. In the morning we were late and everyone was already on the bus and they almost left us. And just now we were busy taking pictures and sipping our wine and everyone was gone. There's alcohol on the boat, but you gotta pay for it.
I'll pay for you. Whatever you want on the boat, I got you. You want me to buy the boat? It's yours.
This boat ride was included in the price of the trip, but as I mentioned, drinks were not. Nevertheless, we enjoyed this 45-ish minute ride, just admiring the beautiful greenery and vastness of the Douro Valley. And even though there was a lot of people on the boat, it definitely felt super blissful just to relax and enjoy the scenery. After our lovely boat ride, we'd headed over to this beautiful estate where we were served lunch, and it included appetizers, a main course with a few different options to choose from, dessert, and of course, many wine tastings during it all. We were then directed into a wine cellar where the guide taught us more interesting facts about port wine with some fun trivia. So basically, whoever answered correctly got more wine, but realistically, he had a very heavy hand and basically everyone got more wine. Before we were taken back to Porto, our tour stopped in a little small town, which I'm so sorry I forgot the name of, but we had about 30 minutes here to explore the main strip. So of course we did that, walked around, and got some ice cream because it was a super hot day. Hello! We are back from our wine tour, which was amazing, but needless to say, we're a little bit tired. It was a long day. We got up at like 6 a.m. to get there, had a full day of drinking and sun, so you can only imagine how tired we are. We've just kind of been chilling at the Airbnb, relaxing. It's been like half an hour, but it's like evening time-ish, almost 7, so we're probably gonna grab some dinner in a little bit and then settle down for the night. Tomorrow is our last full day in Porto. I'm sad but happy because we have a lot more traveling to do in the next coming weeks. We have 2 full more weeks in Europe. I would say Lisbon compared to Porto, very different cities. Lisbon is definitely more touristy, definitely a lot of more hills, smaller sidewalks. I would say Porto is less hilly, still touristy, and a lot of cool things to see. I love that you could chill by the water and the river and all that stuff. So if you have the chance, my recommendation is you need to go see both. So honestly, our last day in Porto wasn't all that crazy and it mostly revolved around food. So we started the day off with our one last brunch and I had a few work calls that day. So for the rest of the day, we just spent time soaking up the Porto sun and enjoying ourselves before doing the final thing on our bucket list, which was trying the infamous Francesinha. And we're about to try Francesinha for the very first time. We only ordered one, so let's see how it is. So the Francesinha is a meat and cheese based sandwich that was created in Porto from my understanding, and it is a must try once you get here. It tastes like meat. It's good though. This trip was overall a 10 out of 10 and I'm so happy that I got to experience Porto. Everything from the port wine to the yummy food, the beautiful buildings, and just the overall vibes. If you're going to Portugal, definitely try to make time for Porto if you can fit it into your schedule, and I would even go as far as to say yes, go to Lisbon, but spend more time in Porto if you can, because this is where you're gonna feel more at home.